In this video, I'm actually going to show you a simple code and not technical so that your communication and relationships are so strong with your team that you have more people producing. Aloha, I'm Mark J. World's Laziest Networker, coming to you from our backyard here in beautiful Kauai, Hawaii. We actually believe the same thing the locals do here, that it's all our backyard. And I know you have your own personal Kauai where you want to live. How did Davine, my beautiful wife, the fabulous Davine, and I build teams that actually built teams without us? Well, it's not anything that's magic or these crazy systems or gurus. And by the way, after 1997 or 8, we never did another motivational thing in our entire career, but we and our teams were highly motivated. And this is actually a video that I'm thrilled to shoot, so make sure you subscribe so every time we shoot a new video, you'll be informed. And I'll tell you right up front, just like I did, exactly what the video is about. So fundamentally, so grateful to people like Scott McAvoy, Richard V. Richardson, Stephen V. Richardson. Make sure you get his book, Lean Into Your Vision. It's fantastic. And particularly for Daryl K., who's asked a few times on our YouTube channel could you please do more about color code, because he got it. And of course, Brenda and hundreds of others. So let us know what you'd like us to teach about. We usually teach in some small segments. So how did we build teams that build teams without us? Well, we talked about this a little bit more. If you listen to things like Clubhouse or get online, everybody's going to tell you it's all about relationship building, and building relationships. The first thing that we did on our team, and what's really interesting, is before we were a team that was really in mojo, had that incredible momentum, I was struggling a little bit. I was just hard driving, hardcore, drive, and I almost drove this wonderful woman out of the business. She had 2 kids. She wanted to be at home with them. She was highly motivated, but almost everything I said to her moved her further and further away. I ended up marrying that woman because we took personality tests. I took one, and then I had her take one, and reluctantly she did. And when I read her report and I read my report, I went, OMG. And so we decided pretty quickly after that to of course, we weren't a couple or anything then. So we took the word a relationship out of all our conversations and replaced it with communication. Okay? Let me tell you something about having good relationships. If people feel heard, let me say that again. If they feel heard, okay, which doesn't mean you're just listening so you can talk about what you want to talk about, but if people feel heard and you help them make money, guess what? These work out just hunky-dory. So let's get down to it and talk about exactly how we did it, because we changed over the years from what was known as behavioral profiles, and there's some really wonderful ones out there, Briggs-Myers and DISC and all that, and we did really well, but I knew something was missing, and then we found color code. Okay, color code. And the difference between color code, you could look at it this way. Okay, whoops. You could look at it this way. These are theories. These are behaviors. Okay, and virtually all basically all of the profiles that are out there are theoretical about how somebody's going to behave, or they do a great job of identifying what their behavior is going to be. But what color code gave us and why we switched to it is it identified their core motive. And I'm going to give you a couple examples, but the first thing that I want to tell you about succeeding at anything, any entrepreneurial business, is begin with the end in mind. Okay, this is so important. So I know what a lot of you are doing right now. You're thinking about peeling off this video because I'm not telling you how to get people in. Yeah, I am telling you how to get people in. You see, the significant difference is if you look at any income disclaimer with a network marketing company, you'll find this symbol, okay, meaning less than or more than. Less than 1% of the people are making big money in network marketing. And that was unacceptable to us. And the reason is they don't take coaching because people have bought into the big lie that if people aren't producing, go get more people. So let me ask you a question. If you brought in 20 or 30 people and none of them are producing, do you really believe it's their fault? That every single one of them is a quitter and a loser and too stupid to learn the business? Obviously, they joined to make money. Obviously, something sparked them. And let's face it, everybody joins the business for exactly the same reason. The hope of a different outcome. What does this have to do with beginning with the end in mind? If you've sponsored people and less than 30% of them are producing, stop what you're doing. Bringing more people in is just repeating the same behavior. It's not throwing it against the wall and seeing what sticks. It's learning how to communicate with people so that their business becomes a lot more successful. Okay, so you want to begin with the end in mind. So that's really what we're doing. And where does that really begin? Well, we have back in the videos that you'll see over there, the onboarding process. But the first thing we did in the onboarding process, we sent them to color code. And my wife will put a link down there for you. We sent them to color code, and we had their color. What did we have? Their core motive. And in that very first conversation, we found out what their desire was. Okay? So begin with the end in mind means if you can't get people producing, stop sponsoring people and learn how to get people to produce. So how does color code actually work? Well, it breaks people down into 4 basic categories, just like the behavioral ones. And you have red, okay, and you have yellow, okay, and you have blue, and you have white. Now, each one of those colors is going to have a single, core motive. And that core motive is really what's going to drive that person. So my wife was a blue. Blues are driven by intimacy and not money. Reds are driven by money, not intimacy. Okay, and she's standing about 8 feet away from me, and she'll tell you right now, if it wasn't for color code, we wouldn't be together. These are what's known as non-compatible opposites. However, if they can learn how to work together, miraculous things happen. So what happens when people join the business? Well, in our onboarding process, and yours is really the same unless you've got a long list of stuff so you can delay doing what you're supposed to do. But basically, you build the list, right? And then you make 3 ways. And I've already been over this in previous videos. If you're not making initial calls with your distributors, you're doing the business wrong. You're definitely going to fail. And I'm going to get to a simple technique to show you how to get all 4 of these colors to want to make 3-way calls. If they work their list, you're feeding them to the sharks, they're going to fail. If I work their list, they're going to make money. The communication's going to be great because of color code. Because I started talking to Davine about being at home with her kids, not about money. Let me say that again. About being at home with her kids, not with her money. Okay, not about money. So let's talk about the motives, okay, and how this actually worked. Because really, again, we want to begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. I'll put it right here, babe. Begin with the end in mind. And what is the end? You want to build teams that build teams without you, which means you have to get your people not only producing, but you've got to teach them how to get their people producing. And the only way to do that, and we went over it, I think, last week's video, is hands-on. You show them hands-on. So when you sponsor Davine into the business and you help her sponsor 3 or 4 people, you treat those people as if you personally sponsored them. And if you don't know what their core motive is and you don't know what they really desire, then you're constantly doing a commercial, and that's going to be pressure. So let's talk about reds, okay? Reds are about the bottom line. Okay, ROI, what's the return on my investment of time or money? But basically, they're about one word, progress. Okay? They want to make progress. They don't want to have conversations about the kids, the Boston Red Sox, or anything else. In and out. Now, Blues, they're driven by intimacy. Okay? They treasure relationships. Okay? So if you're a red, if you're a red, like I am, and you had a blue on the phone, I knew when I set time aside to work with Davine that I was going to have a conversation about her kids a little bit, let her talk about it, and leverage that and say, well, it's really good to hear Jackie's doing so well, and I know you want to drop your kids off at school and pick them up after school and be emotionally and financially available for them. And so to do that, this is what we need to do together. And there it is, relationship, okay? Yellows, okay, they're about fun and adventure, okay? Yellows have a problem with follow-up, okay? What does that mean? Well, not only should you treat anybody that you sponsor with a yellow as if you personally sponsored them, if you don't, the people they sponsor will die on the vine. They simply don't do it until you've been over it with them over and over. And so, and whites, okay, they're driven by peace. These are marvelous core motives. Peace, adventure. They'll talk to anybody, but aren't good on follow-up. Blues and whites are not that assertive, so you've got to be a little more supportive. And reds, they're going to make the most money for yourself and your teammates, but they're not very coachable because reds know everything. You don't even have to ask them. They're going to tell you that they know everything and they know how to work this business, even though they don't. So let me give you an example of what happens. People don't want to make three-way calls together. So I'm going to give you the same example 4 times. And yes, the answer to Daryl's question is we will be doing a color code training soon. So make sure you're on our list, which there's another link for in Free Network Skills. But basically, three-way calls, okay? And we're going to make a generic example out of what they want. Let's say all 4 people that I'm going to give you this example with, all 4 people want to pay for their kids' education. You got it? I'm going to give you 4 examples, and this is how Davine and I made a lot of money. Notice there's nothing about the plan. There's nothing about the product. There's nothing about we're opening in China. There's nothing about some woman in Tucson, Arizona that's been in for 4 days and she's already hit triple, double diamond pooper scooper or any of that nonsense, okay? So they're going to resist three-way calls. That's a normal thing. They want to call people before they want to set it up, and of course that person's going to ask them questions. They're going to get killed. By the way, the average person talks to 3 people on their own and they quit. They might stay on auto ship for a while, but they're basically done. So if you're not going to make three-way calls with people and show them what to do, here's my suggestion: sell your stuff and quit, okay? So let's start with a red, okay? And we're going to call red Harry, okay? We'll use Harry and Harriet. So here's a red, and he's resisting making three-way call. Look, I know how to do this. Well, I say, Harry, is it okay if we have a little mini heart-to-heart? And of course, he's going to say yes. You know from the skills at our site, would it be okay if, as a magic phrase, it freezes the sales filter and opens up either the head or the heart? Remember, yellows and blues run on heart, reds and whites run on logic. So Harry, is it okay? Would it be okay if we had a little quick heart-to-heart? And of course, you want to say quick to a red because reds are what? They're about speed. They just want to know what time it is. They don't want to know how to build a watch. Okay, so here's what happens. With Harry, this is what I'm going to say to Harry. Say, Harry, look, when we initially talked, you told me you wanted to pay for your kids' education. Now, there's a lot of people that join our company, XYZ, Some of them get to pay for their kids' education, some of them don't. Would it be okay if I told you what the difference was? Of course, he's going to say yes. I'd say, look, here's what happens. The objective of our business, most people don't even know it. The objective of our business is teams that build teams without you. Understand? A team of 30 and a team of 50 that go to 50 and 70, and those 40 new people were added without me or you. Your check goes up. You make more money. There's the red clue. You make more money. Does that make sense, Harry? He's going to say yes and say, well, here's the thing. Everybody knows that you can never build a team if you won't be part of a team. So the people that got to pay for their kids' education make a ton of money, even more than just paying for the education. They worked with their up team making three-way calls to demonstrate their willingness to be part of a team, and that helped them build teams and make lots of money. The ones that didn't, they knew it all, they were going to do it on their own, and of course they did, and their kids' education didn't get paid for. Harry, which of the two groups do you see yourself moving forward with? And he's always going to tell you the first one. What we talked about was red stuff. I picked up the pace. Reds usually talk a little bit faster. Let's go on to blues, and we'll call this Harriet.
You're at 15 already.
Yep. So this is really going to be the same thing. Hi, Harriet. Would it be okay if we had a little heart-to-heart about Jack and Jill, your kids and their education, and you helping them? Blues want to help. She's going to say yes, because they're accommodating anyway. And you're going to say to her, look, Harriet, you know, a lot of people join XYZ to pay for their kids' education. Some of them get it, some of them don't. Would it be okay if I told you the difference? She's going to say yes. And say, well, here's the deal. The objective of the business is helping teams learn how to build teams that help other people so they can build teams and pay for their kids' education. Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. Well, here's the reality. Everybody knows you'll never be able to build a team if you won't be part of a team. So the kids that got their kids' education paid for, their parents were able to help them. They worked with their up team so they could learn how to help other people make those initial calls. And they paid for their kids' education. And it was wonderful and helpful. And the ones that didn't, well, of course, they did it on their own, and their kids weren't helped, and it all fell apart, their dreams and everything. Which of the two groups do you see yourself moving forward with? So I'll short circuit the next two, because you got the pattern already. It's the same thing. And I want you to notice something. Reds and blues are control freaks. Whites and yellows don't want to be controlled. So what I'm doing at the end is saying, which of the two groups do you see yourself moving forward? And I'm giving them control after I explain what the consequences are and talk in a language they understand. What do I mean by a language they understand? Their core motive, what drives them. So a yellow, Harry. Hey, Harry, all right, can we have a quick conversation about your kids' education? Sort of heart to heart, have some fun? Well, yeah, sure, Mark. Well, look at, a lot of people join XYZ, and again, yellows, faster paced, they want to talk. A lot of people that join XYZ, they want to pay for their kids' education. Some of them get it, and it's awesome, and it's fun, and it's a big adventure, and some of them don't. And of course, life's boring that way. Would it be okay if I told you the difference? I'm going to go through the teams that build teams without you, and then I'm going to say this. So obviously, everybody knows you can never build a team and constantly meet new people and have new adventures if you won't be part of a team yourself. So those people that worked as a team with their up team and got to meet new people all the time, guess what? They paid for their kids' education. It was awesome. They went to the colleges and visited them with them. The kids that didn't get their education those people didn't work as a team, and they didn't meet any new people, and they didn't have any fun. Which of the two groups do you see yourself moving forward in? And then, of course, with a white, which is Harriet, okay? Harriet are white, okay? Remember, whites are about peace. So I'm going to go through the same thing, teams that build teams without you, and say, look, Harriet, everybody knows nice, gentle voice, slow pace. Look, everybody knows you. can't be, we'll never build teams if you won't be part of a team. And the beautiful thing about you and the personality type that we discovered, because that information is really important, is you're so precise and so helpful and can bring peace into people's lives. You see, everybody knows that if we won't be part of a team, we'll never build a team. And that peace that you can bring to your teammates and to their teammates, well, that's what'll pay for the kids' education if you'll work with your upline. And the people that did, they made a lot of money. The ones that didn't, well, they sat there forever trying to figure it out. And of course, they never worked as a teammate, so they never were able to build teams. And guess what? Their kids' education didn't get paid for, and it ruptured their internal peace. They felt bad about it. So which of the two groups do you see yourself moving forward in? So this is just one simple application, but remember what I said at the beginning. We began with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. And Dave and I realized if we couldn't get these people OTP on the phone, then the rest of our career would be spent sponsoring more, throwing it against the wall and seeing what sticks. What this did was let us build what? Great communication with people. And now we were excited about bringing people in because we knew we could get them to engage in a behavior that most people initially find undesirable. And so you make this one bottom line, this one intimacy, this one fun and adventure, this one peace, and you will make a ton of money. Share this with your team. Leave me a comment down below. Peace be the journey.